Good morning and welcome to the crypto day morning. Today's date comes in that of Monday, the 18th day of March 2019. All bets trades of the like. That's within each his own risk and their own reward. We'll start off with the AID coin, which has managed to make yearly highs against Bitcoin, or going back to the date on December the 6th. This level of major resistance for the last few days is holding and staying above. I'm going to be removing that line, but for now I'm going to keep that one in at 1253, which is in the area where the 18 average of highs happens to be. I like over the last several days how it has managed to grind and ride, show extreme strength amongst the 18 upper part. And then today's session, having what we've seen on many occasions. And when you know the market conditions that something is common, well, how do you play upon that situation? How do you and by just waiting for better prices and waiting for the price to stay at the upper area where it goes to, that ain't happening. You're not seeing really any green candles with a lack of a white line. I mean, this one doesn't count up here, but anything of good gains, that is. Every single time it goes up. And now this one, it has a retracement back again to the downside. Okay. So then, what does this mean as far as this move? You have to shorten out the time frame, which we will. So we'll move it next to the 4-hour term, and well, this is where we can see it happen in one period and gave it back in the next. And it's on high volume, as it should be, at least on the way up. And it was also on the way down. On the single hour time frame, pretty much the same thing. As this price goes up on this hour at 7 a.m., falling on the 8 o'clock hour, it is 9:02 a.m. time in the time zone of London, Ontario. Not London, England. Yes, there's a London outside of England. Not as big, but still pretty big actually. It's near Detroit. On the 15-minute time frame, just a fast move up, and let's just now go right to the 1. Therefore, it started at 13:30 at 7-Eleven, and less than a half an hour later, the price action goes up to 14.95, and then 7:45 down to 14, up to 16 and a half, and doing it at 7:56, thus in a quarter, less than a quarter of an hour, and then to give it all back fast like that. So there's an origins, if you will, on one of those moves. Now, as far as short term, the 18 average has flattened out, starting to barely go higher, which this line for me represents my buy order. And that was in based on the order book and the fact that my last sell was at 1500. So therefore I'm going to increase this a little bit because the order book has changed as well. And increase this up to 1275. That's where my new buy order is, and I'll wait and see. So either I'm going to buy at this point, or my sell order is pretty much at 2000 Satoshi. And if I buy this, then I'll just put a sell order up near 1600. And that was about a good 20 minutes or so. I was 25 minutes. I was trying to get my buy back at the with that lower level there, 1250-ish. It was even conservative too, because I originally had that 1200 even, and then I'm thinking, nah, let's play a bit safer. Let's go for that number that I had, and now this is about the highest aggressive level, if you call it that, to try to buy something at the cheaper price. But again, having sell orders ready for these plays is what you do. Okay, moving on to Bitcoin against the US fiat, which is really just hanging in there against the above the 18 average of highs. Another bit of a pause movement from this, supporting above the area I wanted to support at, which would be about the 38 high number, 38.90, even 38.85. So it's supporting a little bit better. Overall, holding and staying above, still no real test or attempt into make this go higher, but if it can hold and stay above this for a good period of time, remaining above the 18, that just increases the setup probability odds for future events to go higher to be greater. Or it creates a kick-ass setup the next few days. If it just stays here for a little bit, it's like, okay, this is looking ready to go, ready to pop, and well, we'll wait and see, because that is that with Bitcoin. Litecoin, it gets a little bit different against the dollar, as it's been holding and staying above rising 18 for quite some time, and on its weekly time frame, attempting the breakout, as it's been. Here we have it. Like, this is 3 periods after this green one up of just holding and staying above this, and then a couple liftoff periods, and well, this week is Monday, so it's just started. Against that of BTC, Litecoin on the weekly time frame, just starting the week off hanging in there. Uh, Pause, barely continue acceleration on the previous week. I think overall still a productive one. On the daily chart, just a whatever red candle, at least as of now, because many of the ones that have preceded viewing on this chart, having a support test amongst the 18 average of highs. DGB against Bitcoin having its correctionary test now from the last time it left the 18 on March the 9th. It broke out above, and that was a big situation because 300 was major resistance in here, major resistance again on February 24th, March the 1st. It was resistance on March the 5th. It was resistance on March the 7th. It broke out on the 8th. It supported it on the 9th. And when it supported it, it left the 18 highs, and well, it hadn't have touched it until today. It managed to make a move up to 400, so a break of 3 to 4. There's a nice 30% gain for you, or what the maximum amount was from then. And a correctionary phase, so it's a rising 18. 18 lows right now coming in at 329. And we got a little bit of looks like a double level resistance established from the last move, meaning the ultimate high, or this high, is at, well, 399, but I'm going to round it to 4. And then a little bit in here, but you can't see it too clearly on the daily term, but you can see it more and more so in here. So therefore, you got this previous range of support and resistance between 355 and about 362. And if this thing has any deep moves, 300 is going to be an extreme level of support. At least on the not so long term, but on the midterm is, I mean, short term is like, to me, all of this 1 hour stuff and everything like this. Midterm is not going too far above the daily, but when you're talking about like everything, these big moves, and yeah, that's to me long term. And another way of putting it is just for percentile moves on buybacks. For a long term play, to me, is selling up here at say 740 and looking to buy it back at 300. And an intermediate term might be selling at say that 740 and buying back at 500. And short term is selling at 740 and buying back at maybe 680. And so on and so forth. And there's more information, of course, to some of my trading series in the more information box. Switching over to Theta in at 33.5 Satoshi, or 3,350, but it's still barely above the 18 average of highs on the weekly term, of course, since the breakout on February the 4th. Big volatility, big wild moves. We had 2 very big green ups and 1 big green down. Looking at so in the daily time frame, there's your failed breakout that occurred on March the 10th. Oftentimes failed moves will create a fast move in the opposite direction. Okay, well, will it be a fast move? It's been several days. It's not running. It's not out of time yet. But a failed move is when you break a very key level. In this case, this was a key level. Have a noticeable gain, and this was extra noticeable, for a relative short period of time. And well, to me, this is almost as short as you can get. I guess 1 period to be the shortest, but having like 6, 7, 8 periods to break above the line and break below is still a short period. And then to quickly go back to where you came from and before, usually within the 18. And not only did it do that, but it did so not at the highs, but at the lows. It's been about a half a dozen periods. It usually does remove, I would think, that the next usual play from here is lower, somewhere to its key level. And right in here is where I'd be looking for where it came from, and maybe deeper into it. But this little range somewhere in the 2 dozen area, 2400, maybe 26. I guess when you're leaving 22, that breaks that area. But it's also had a level of resistance established in here as well, which getting above it will signify what we think was that of a failed breakout is a successful one, because if a move up or down, the breakout or the breakdown, is successful, that means it's got to pass its correctionary phase. It's just when it does something like this, it makes it unlikely that it's going to pass. So it's like you know someone's going to write a test and you're expecting them to fail. That's one way, more than anything you look at it. But you let that person write the test because they might surprise you. And it could create a head and shoulders pattern, possibly, but it's only halfway through the third shoulder or the second shoulder. There's the left shoulder. You can talk about this as the head. But to make a right shoulder, it's got to come up to here. But that really just tells me that it has to break this major level of resistance in here for me to have any confidence that this thing in the near term is going to be ready to go back up to this 5,000 level and possibly and probably, if then, beyond. And then in final summary, of course, if it does break this level of support convincingly at the 3,000, yeah, I'm going to be expecting it to be relatively quick, even on the most shortest of terms, like the 4 hour, have candles of this type of nature, the downward here, on that when that happens. And the information that I give you, is always going to be the best I can to be unbiased. Am I hoping for something to happen, either for it to be, or do I want to be a failed breakout higher? Yes, I do. That's my cheering. Whatever happens, happens. Because I have buy orders in at 2,600, 2,500, 2,400, 21, 2,000, 1,800. I mean, I got them all scattered. But the highest one is 26. So therefore, if that happens, I'll get the fills in. And it's a long ways to go before the market prices would hit my next area. Now, I'll be happy and fine if this thing bottoms, starts to break out, gets to the 44, gets to 5,000. I ain't selling anything there, not unless I get my buy back. And I could just buy right now. After all, my last sale was 45.90. That's a differential of, well, 1,200 points. But I'm looking for a better gain on the trade. Switch this over to Komodo, which big volume here. We'll see which this big volume will indicate, as is this a key turning point, which on the weekly chart we'd end up seeing this thing going much higher, probably at higher volume. Of course, volume only historical stuff is very, very tough to compare when you have this moving or going to different exchanges. After all, if we're taking a look at this old term data back in here, and we're looking at this Binance, or volume, Binance, yeah, volume, and Binance wasn't in play, and this was the biggest place in town to buy and sell Komodo. Well, it's not the biggest place in town to buy and sell it. Now, it's the second biggest as far as my knowledge, with Binance being that of the biggest. Does it look as if we're ready for a further correctionary move within this 18 average of lows coming in at 24 and change? And of course, maybe even possibly piercing below 24.2. That's still 24 change. On the hourly time frame, I'm really thinking so. Within this move in here, and let's just take a look at this compared to both exchanges. Say Binance, practically the same. But you have this big move, which comes back down. First, its correctionary moves to the 18 average of highs, unable to do so. Okay, it got its ass kicked. Test number 2. Looking to be successful, attempting to break higher on this 4-hour time frame, not able to do so. Coming back to the 18 average of highs, another attempt, but low-winded, nowhere near as much as the energy it had before, thus the lower high. But correcting successfully within the 18 lows. Now we have the rising 18 lows, declining 18 highs. That's a symmetrical kind of pattern, waiting, it's indecision, waiting for that key move. And we can see as this thing really started to get close to each other, both of these moving averages, after they really split apart in this fat area in here from the gain. That's because of the big moves, the front weighted average. And within this one, starting to break down. So therefore, it's at this key area of support. Should go to here, but if it breaks down lower, then most certainly I'd be looking again for at least a test of this 18 average of lows in at about 2400 or 24,000 Satoshi. And I'm going to finish this video off with Litecoin again. But I'm going to talk about Crpytopia as the stages of their progression from the January 14th hacks have came into play. This is going to be interesting because the haircuts have been announced and it's pretty hefty right now. We'll see how it's going to play out, how hefty it works. But I have about 57% of the Litecoin on my Crpytopia site, as everyone else I think should as well. And Bitcoin, I think it's somewhere around 90 something percent, a little bit of a small haircut there. A lot of those coins they've already verified, put in wallets, are 100% that you would have. And that also means that you're getting a new coin that they're somehow to supplement your loss. It's called CLM, Crpytopia Loss Maker. I got several hundred of these now. They give them to me. How much they end up going to be worth, or how much, I guess that's going to work within the rebates that you get. So if you have any of the coins that are not 100% secured, and I know Bitcoin and Litecoin are on that level. I noticed Ethereum hasn't been counted or touched yet, so I'm going to be curious there. But no trading on this site, no withdrawals. Every wallet is on maintenance at this point, so it's just a wait and see game at this stage still, as it's in its third month. January 14th was when the hack occurred. And it ended up being but an 8-figure, $10-20 million US amount, but I don't know exactly. However, January 14th it begun. February 14th, the New Zealand police gave them access to their building. And now March 14th, they're close to, and that was a few days ago, they're close to getting the exchange back and going, or they're one step at a time. They've done 2FA email fixes. They took a time for you to allow to cancel orders, which is interesting because if I didn't cancel all my orders, well, it worked out that if you had, say, and I had more than this, but let's just assume that you had 10 Litecoin on there, that you would end up getting back about 5.7 now. And then you would end up having some coins in the Crpytopia Loss Maker Fund. But if I didn't cancel my orders, and I had 9.6 of it in buy orders ready to buy altcoins against Litecoin, then how would they have taken that out? I'm pretty curious to know that. I did cancel the orders because I had a whole bunch of buy orders just raring to go at terrible prices given how good Litecoin has done since January 14th. Thus, I'd be getting bad order fills. But I'm curious how they'd have to do that because they'd almost have to break up orders. So that really makes me kind of wonder for now. But again, it's just one of those check. I'd like to check in the middle of the afternoon every single day to the night, because that's when in New Zealand it's the start of the day. Start of the day is around dinner time, or even a little before then on the U.S. side or the New York City side. Thank you for tuning in. Have yourself a great day. Bye-bye.